there, it's Katie, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about how our perfectionism can sneak its way into self-improvement. So a lot of people who are into self-improvement, self-help, self-love, all those sort of things, we also tend to be perfectionists, and I am a self-proclaimed recovering perfectionist. It's definitely something that I'm always working on. It's not something that totally goes away, but something that I keep in check. And a funny thing that happens to a lot of us is that we start using like self-improvement or spirituality in a way that is really the opposite of what we're trying to do. So we're trying to learn how to love ourselves. We're trying to learn how to essentially feel better, essentially feel more at ease, and love our lives a little bit more. But what we start doing is we start becoming obsessed with attaining this certain state or essentially being perfect. And we don't realize that because we're following all this self-help stuff and we don't put things in perspective. So the number one thing that you need to know is that everything you read, all these videos you watch, these are like things to kind of be keeping in mind and, be growing towards. But at the end of the day, you are a human being. You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to be completely enlightened and, never think a bad thought ever in your life. Like, it's not like we attain this thing and then all of our pain goes away. That's not what it's about. So I want to give you 3 different scenarios where you might realize that perfectionism is creeping into your self-improvement. So number 1 is comparing yourselves to other people. And this can go one of 2 ways. So it could be that you are watching videos like this, or you have different teachers or spiritual gurus or whoever that you're looking up to that are really amazing people. And you're thinking, oh my God, this person's so amazing. Like, they got it all figured out. Like, they're such a good person. And, they look so healthy. And I am just like this lowly sewer rat. So if you're doing that, you want to pause and you want to really realize that those people are human too, and they have just as much pain and struggle in their lives, and they aren't perfect, and they aren't like that all the time. If you're just seeing people on social media, especially, be careful on Facebook and Instagram and all of those platforms, because we forget that everything is curated, okay? We forget that these are just moments in time. Like, these people aren't showing, they aren't broadcasting like the downs in their life. For the most part, people are broadcasting just the ups, or even just, like here, like we're sitting here, I have this light shining on my face. I have like this nice camera filming this. This isn't like real life, okay? This is a video. So you want to be careful that you're not comparing yourself to what you're seeing online or these spiritual teachers. And you really want to be seeking out teachers who admit their own humanity. If the person you're following is like pretending to always be perfect, that's a pretty big red flag. There's a lot of people I follow who I love, and part of why I love them is because they talk about their own personal struggles, and you get that they're a real human and that no one is like totally perfect all the time. Another flip side of comparing yourself to other people is if you are looking down on people saying, oh, like they aren't as spiritual as I am, or they aren't as evolved as I am, or they're just like a regular person and I'm like super deep and I have like a soul mission, blah, blah, blah. that's a pretty big red flag that you are thinking along the wrong lines of thinking for self-improvement. We just don't want to be comparing ourselves to others in either way, because it's always an indication that our ego is getting in the way and we're not really loving ourselves. We're just trying to make ourselves feel better, or we're just going down this spiral of shame for not feeling enough. So another place where you might notice this not enough creeping in, this perfectionism. Perfectionism comes from feeling not enough. Another place where you might notice that is if you think that there's this, you have this idea and you might not consciously think it. Like if I were to ask you, you'd say, oh no, I don't think that. But you might be approaching self-improvement in this way where you think, I'm going to reach this like state of enlightenment, where you're sort of like comparing yourself against like Jesus or the Buddha or something. You think that like you should just be, walking through life, never getting triggered, never having bad thoughts, never judging anyone, because these are all things that we know are, bad. Well, we're gonna, there's a big relief, like a huge relief for me at least, in admitting like sometimes I'm bad and sometimes I'm wrong. Like, wow, like we as a society, we never admit those things publicly. Like sometimes I, judge other people, or sometimes I do things that are not totally aligned with who I truly am. And just noticing when those things happen and forgiving yourself and coming back to this path of wanting to move in the right direction. And the third thing is, if you're judging yourself harshly for having a setback, so maybe you've done lots of self-improvement, you've really improved a certain aspect of your life, and then you have like a huge setback, you go way back to like the original problem, like maybe, recently with me, I had a huge pain flare up. I'd been working out a lot, I got sick, and then like everything back here, all of the muscles seized up. I had to cancel my clients for 2 days because I couldn't lift my head up. It was like horrible. And it was really easy for me to go into this obsessive thoughts about why that was happening and feeling bad that it was happening. And, that is that not enough, that perfectionism creeping in, thinking I should be better than this. I should be so good that this doesn't happen to me, or that I don't cause this to happen. So basically what I'm trying to say with all these things is that if you notice yourself doing these, you also don't want to fall into the perfectionist trap of then judging yourself harshly for having done them, because it's just going to happen. It's going to happen because you are a human being. What we want to do when we notice these things is start shifting away from this mindset of I'm going to fix myself and make everything absolutely perfect, to a growth mindset. So what does a growth mindset mean? It means that we are always looking at sort of our shadow sides or things that we want to improve in our lives because we want to feel better, okay? We want to have better lives. But that doesn't mean that we turn away from pain or discomfort. And it doesn't mean that we ever attain this like state where everything is fine and we don't have to work at it anymore. We want to realize and just accept the reality that it's a lifelong process. You're always going to be putting yourself in check. You're always going to be having setbacks. You're always going to be having improvements. It's kind of like this journey of a give and take that is really never ending. And it's not to like feel bad and like feel like you want to give up because there's no end goal in sight. That's not true. What happens is with this growth mindset, we become better at riding the waves. When hard things happen, they're still hard, but we don't feel so desperate and alone, and we feel stronger and able to ride out that storm a lot better. So I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. I know it's like a little bit of a different way of thinking about things, but I know as a recovering perfectionist that you probably have a little bit of it in you too. I think most people do. And I'd like you to take some time and think about, what are certain ways that perfectionism is creeping into your self-improvement routine, your self-improvement mindset, and what is like one way that you could shift more towards a growth mindset? What is one area where you've been possibly trying to perfect something instead of trying to grow something? So whatever it is, write it in the comments, let us know, and we'll talk to you later. All right, bye.